I'll be bringing you some surprising and interesting facts about Numan Ali Khan. So let's get to know him a little bit more and find out who this man actually is. Starting with fact number 10, Numan Ali Khan was born in Germany to a Pakistani family. Now, during his preschool years, he lived in the former East Berlin, and at that time, his father worked for a Pakistan embassy in Riyadh, which is a capital city of Saudi Arabia. Now, Numan also attended the Pakistan embassy school from grades 2 up until grades 8. And then from there, his father and the rest of his family moved to New York when Numan was a teenager.
So it's a mystery to us, and that's an important thing because a lot of times people can focus on what they see, and what they see is the problem.
Now, fact number 9 was a big surprise because at one point in his life, Numan Ali Khan was actually an atheist. When his father was transferred from the Pakistan embassy in Riyadh to New York, like I mentioned, Numan was in his teens, and as a teenager living in New York City, his interest in the religion of Islam became less and less of a priority in his mind, and he eventually even stopped believing in a god altogether. But you see, there were some very interesting series of events that he says led him back to the religion. There was one incident where another fellow Muslim student at college offered Numan a ride in his car, but then before they actually began to drive, he stopped to pray first. So seeing this, Numan was like, I feel kind of embarrassed. Well, I'm gonna join in the prayer too. And at that moment, he really had a feeling of feeling really bad for not having prayed for years. And then after that incident came the month of Ramadan. And that, by the way, is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, where even Muslims who do not pray regularly actually conduct what is known as Tawari prayers. And Tawari prayers, by the way, are the additional prayers performed by Muslims at night after the night prayer during the holy month of Ramadan. So Numan decided to do the same, do the prayers like everybody else, even though he wasn't praying regularly. That was actually the big turning point for him in his life right there, and he was led straight back to the religion of Islam.
This is where it started, and this is really what informs the vision of Bayyinah. Bayyinah is just about people that felt like they want to connect with the Quran.
Now, the next thing to note is that his first experience with studying the Arabic language was in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where he completed his elementary schooling. And then he continued with Arabic grammar study in Pakistan, where he received a scholarship for ranking in the top 10 scores in the National Arabic Studies Board examinations in the year 1993. That was a huge achievement, but his real serious training in Arabic began in the United States in the year 1999 under Dr. Abdus Sami, who is the founder and formal principal of Quran College, Faisalabad, Pakistan. So this man just happened to be touring the US for intensive lectures in tafsir and Arabic studies during this time. So it really lined up with Numan Ali Khan's time frame of studying.
In Arabic, furthering myself in the learning of the Quran. And the more I do, I go crazy over the idea, I gotta share this with other people. I gotta tell my friends about this.
Now, after diving fully back into the religion of Islam, Numan Ali Khan, he really hopes to bring a basic understanding of the Quran to every single Muslim family. He conducts lectures as well as speeches where he throws in a lot of wit to keep it engaging, as well as he has a whole lot of knowledge and wisdom that he shares. So it's no surprise that he's gained a massive following on YouTube with viewers from all around the world. He has several children himself, and he really connects with the youth, especially since he discusses a lot of important yet sometimes taboo or undiscussed topics like gender, peer pressure, how to have fun without violating your religious values, as well as topics like losing interest in religion over time, which of course he has a lot of experience with. So yeah, those are subjects that he really takes on to help out the youth, because oftentimes these subjects, youth can't even bring them to their parents. They just can't even have a conversation about a lot of these topics.
So these are ayats beginning with ayah number 183 onwards that deal with fasting, and then onwards the month of Ramadan.
Numan Ali Khan is also the CEO and the founder of the popular Bayyinah Institute for Arabic and Quranic Studies. It spans over 11,000 square feet and is located in Irving, Texas in the United States. The Bayyinah Institute is the first Islamic institute built from the ground up that does not rely on fundraisers. So Numan Ali Khan, he's super confident in his organization, and he believes that the school is actually good enough to sustain itself. He pays his full-time instructors similar to what instructors at top universities like Harvard receive. Now, he believes that if a program is really good enough, people will pay for it and it will continue to grow and improve over time. And the Bayyinah Institute also has the Bayyinah TV, which is an online hub of videos and as well as notes for people that want to do some more self-study.
I want people that were in the same place I was, or even worse, and don't have those resources, and I want to become a resource for them.
All right, so now moving on to fact number 5. There's been a lot of criticism of Numan Ali Khan over the years. He has been mocked for his appearance. People say that he resembles an Amish person, and he's also called an innovator by certain Muslim groups. This refers, by the way, to their perspective that Numan Ali Khan adds his own ideas to Islam rather than teaching Islam as it is. So this is something that he's had to deal a lot with.
But if you don't stop and protect yourself from letting it overrun you, then it's going to become an explosion.
Now, the second big criticism that he really faces is people criticizing the fact that he hasn't formally received religious education from a prestigious religious institution like Al-Azhar. So many of his critics question the actual scope of his knowledge as well as his credibility to speak about Islam in the way that he does. He has been accused of promoting pop Islam, and he's been accused of using his online platforms like YouTube just to build up his own popularity.
We have physical needs like food and other needs. We have spiritual needs, connecting to our God. And then we have emotional needs.
But one of the biggest hurdles that Numan Ali Khan had to deal with in his life happened back in September of 2017. And that was when he was actually accused of inappropriate interactions with multiple women. Now, these accusations were covered in major newspapers, and of course, Numan Ali Khan's denied any sort of wrongdoing. He has not let that slow him down though, because he's still very active on YouTube as well as social media. So of course, his life hasn't been without challenges, but to move on and end off with some more positive facts about him, we got 2 more left. The Royal Islamic Strategic Studies Center of Jordan actually named him as one of the 500 most influential Muslims in the entire world in the 2013-2014 edition of their publication, which of course was another massive accomplishment to be recognized in that way.
Muslims are doing something unique, and it's not being done by another faith community. We invite them to strengthen it further.
And the final fact I want to end off is that Numan Ali Khan is the author of 2 books. The first of those books are Divine Speech, Exploring Quran as Literature, and that was self-published in 2016. And then there was also Revive Your Heart, Putting Life in Perspective, and that was published in the year 2017.
I've taken the Arabic portion of a small portion of the ayah that I recited to you in the beginning. هذا بلاغ للناس.
Our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it's mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, volume number 4, hadith number 3461, Ballighu anni wala ayah. Propagate even if you know 1 verse about Islam.
Dr. Zakir Abdul Karim Naik is an Indian Islamic preacher. He's a well-spoken doctor who speaks fluent English as well as Bombayan Hindi. Although his messages have inspired many people from around the world, he has sometimes ended up in hot water for some of his views. Okay, so starting off with the first fact. Dr. Zakir Naik, he runs a non-profit charitable organization called the Islamic Research Foundation as well as Peace TV, which reportedly reached over 100 million viewers. According to its website, it's dedicated to the promotion of Islamic Dewa, which is the understanding of Islam through presentation through various channels including TV. It's also dedicated to the promotion of truth, justice, morality, harmony, and wisdom for all of humanity. Zakir Naik was born in Mumbai, India in October 1965, and he attended the Kishanjan Chelaram College and studied medicine at the Chopiwala National Medical College and BYL near Charitable Hospital, as well as later on he studied at the University of Mumbai, where he obtained a Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery. Clearly this guy is well educated and he knows a whole lot. Now the appeal of Dr. Zakir Naik is that he seeks to clarify Islamic viewpoints and clear other misconceptions about Islam using the Quran, using the hadith, as well as other religious scriptures as a basis, along with mixing in scientific facts to make his points a lot more impactful.
God is one. He's called the true.
Now, unlike many other Islamic preachers, his lectures are delivered in a common language that people can understand. And they're given in English, not Urdu or Arabic, and he's always seen wearing a suit and tie. That's like his staple, his costume. It's like you see that, you're like, oh, that's Dr. Zakir Naik right there. He's all about keeping things simple. And now, according to the Islamic Research Foundation's website, in the last 20 years, Dr. Zakir Naik has delivered over 2,000 public speeches all around the world. Now, among the places that he's visited, United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Italy, France, Saudi Arabia, Australia, Ghana, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Hong Kong, China, Mauritius, Sri Lanka, and the Maldives. Also, in March of 2012, he did a public talk in Kishangani in India, and it was attended by over 1 million people. So clearly this guy has a lot of influence. And this was one of the largest gatherings in the world for any religious lecture by one speaker. Dr. Zakir Naik was the recipient of the prestigious King Faisal International Prize, or the KFIP, in the category of service to Islam back in 2015. Now, the award was announced by Makkah, Saudi Arabia Governor Prince Khalid Al Faisal alongside the KFIP Secretary General Abdullah Al Uthaymin, and each prize consists of a handwritten Arabic certificate as well as a 24-karat 200-gram gold medal and a cash reward of 750,000 Saudi riyal, which works out to be around 200,000 US dollars. But that's not the only thing he's received. Like, he's received numerous awards from leaders around the world. In 2013, the Department of Islamic Development Malaysia conferred a Mal Hiraj Distinguished Personality Award to Dr. Zakir Naik in a ceremony at the Putrajaya International Convention Center. He's also married to Farhat Naik, and he has a son named Farik and a daughter whose name is Rushda. And the final fact I want to share in this episode about Dr. Zakir Naik is that his views have often offended many Muslim scholars, both from the Shia branch as well as the Sunni community. Many Muslim scholars across the world look down upon Zakir Naik for his statements on Allah and the Prophet. Like in a speech, he had mentioned how Muslims shouldn't seek favors from the Prophet in their prayers, but only from Allah. So a lot of people were like, does he respect the Prophet Muhammad? They got a little upset. But hey, either way, when you have that much influence like Dr. Zakir Naik, as well as speaking so much in the public, not everybody is going to agree with you. And I guess that's just something that you gotta live with when you're in the public eye like that. He's somebody who has gained a lot of respect in the Muslim community. So here we go, let's just jump into facts about Mufti Menk. Let's get an understanding about who this guy really is. So starting off with number 10, Mufti Menk was born in a well-respected family in Zimbabwe, and his birthday is June 27th, 1975. He's the 8th child out of 9 children. Now, his father, he goes by the title of Sheikh Maulana Musa Menk. He's also a very well-known scholar as well as a da'i, which is a caller to Islam. And he's also an imam in a masjid or a mosque in Zimbabwe. So yeah, this whole being a scholar thing definitely runs in the family. Next thing I want to talk about is Mufti Menk. Like, on his own, he was able to memorize some verses of the Quran. As a matter of fact, it was Surah At-Tabawa, which is the repentance. But he memorized this when he was just 3 years old. Apparently at just 3 years old, he picked this up from some other children that would come over to his house and recite the Quran to start learning and memorizing it. So him at 3 years old was listening to this and he started memorizing it. Now, I guess this next fact doesn't come as a surprise, but he was actually predicted to be a Hafiz. Apparently how this went down was that a family friend invited Mufti Menk to just like recite verses of the Quran in front of his father as well as some other scholars. And this family friend actually did this because he heard the young child reciting verses in the house. So one of these scholars said to Mufti Menk's father that this little boy would be a Hafiz. And by the way, if you don't know, Hafiz is one of the people who memorize the entire Quran. This is a tradition that Muslims do to make sure that even if all the Qur'ans in the world are destroyed, it will still live on because people are going to memorize them. So from there, Mufti Ismail Menk, he began as a Hafiz at the age of 9 years old. And he completed the task at the age of 12 years old. He had fully memorized the entire Quran. From there, he continued to study Arabic as well as the Urdu language. And he also began to learn the Hanafi mazhab from a young age while he was studying Sharia law under his father. He also received a degree in Sharia law from the University of Medina. And from there, he moved on to specialize in Ifta at Darul Uloom Kantharia in Gujarat, India. So as you can tell, he's a very educated, well-learned man, and he's actually very passionate about his faith and what he does. Unfortunately though, his life hasn't been all smooth sailing. One incident that occurred on October 31st, 2017 in Singapore, he was actually banned from entering into the country because Singapore believed that he expresses views that are not compatible with its multicultural laws and policies. According to the Straits Times, it was said that Mufti Menk said that it is blasphemous for Muslims to greet believers of other faiths during festivals such as Christmas or Deepavali. So Singapore's Minister of Home Affairs actually said in a statement that they made this decision to reject Mufti Menk's application for a short-term work pass because of his, and I quote, segregationist and divisive teachings. At fact number 5, back in the year 2017, Mufti Menk actually published a collection of his sayings in a book titled Motivational Moments. Now, Motivational Moments actually features a compilation of 500 of his best quotes. And most of these quotes are popular quotes that he made that were liked and shared by his followers on various social media accounts. And then also in 2018, he published the second edition titled Motivational Moments 2. These books have become very popular. People can go to Amazon and order them. And it's no surprise because a lot of people look to what he says for motivation, inspiration, as well as just clarification on the whole world of Islam, as well as other subjects. But you see, Mufti Menk, he's a human being like all of us. We struggle with certain issues. And at one point in his life, he had a very bad temper. So between the ages of around 14 to 18 years old, Mufti Menk was very hot-tempered. Like, you wouldn't even dare try to mess with him or make fun of him. And even his siblings were aware of this. But later on, Mufti Menk did say that he believes that Allah saved him from this kind of attitude by making him move to Medina, and that's where he worked on it. And today he says that by Allah's grace, it would be very difficult for him to get really angry like he used to. So we know that Mufti Menk is a very popular Islamic teacher. He's very active in teaching and lecturing all around the world, but he also runs different educational institutions. He's the head of the Fatwa department of the Council of Islamic Scholars of Zimbabwe, and that's known as the Majlisul Ulama Zimbabwe, which really caters to the educational needs for Muslims in Zimbabwe. And he's also one of the muwattins and an imam at the Masjid Al-Falah, one of the largest masjid or mosque in Harare in Zimbabwe. Also, did you know that he has a title of Grand Mufti of Zimbabwe? So the Grand Mufti, also called the Chief Mufti or the State Mufti, and even sometimes referred to as Supreme Mufti, and the Grand Mufti serve as the head of all other regional muftis. Now this position actually originated back in the Ottoman Empire and has been later adopted in a number of modern countries. And the final thing I want to share about Mufti Menk, one of the most inspirational things about him is that he enjoys spending a lot of his time with underprivileged people. Every single year during the Muslim month of Ramadan, he spends a lot of time in different communities around the world to share messages that relate to Islam. And he also mainly works just for the joy and pleasure of serving Allah without really any financial benefit at all. So that right there is just a testament of how passionate he is about his faith and beliefs.
Omar Suleiman is an American Muslim scholar, civil rights leader, writer, and public speaker. He is the founder and president of Yaqeen Institute for Islamic Research and an adjunct professor of Islamic Studies at Southern Midwest University. He's currently the resident scholar of the Valley Ranch Islamic Center and the co-chair of Faith Forward Dallas. So the first fact actually has to do with his background. Suleiman was born to a Palestinian family in New Orleans in 1986. His studies of the Islamic tradition, however, have taken Suleiman across the Muslim world to countries including Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, and Malaysia. In addition to receiving traditional certifications in the Islamic sciences, Omar Suleiman actually received a bachelor's in Islamic law, master's in Islamic finance and political history, and he completed a doctoral studies in Islamic thought and civilization from the International Islamic University of Malaysia. Next up on the list is the fact that he is a founder of a couple of things. Upon returning to New Orleans, he served as the Imam of the Jefferson Muslim Association for 6 years and as the director of the Muslims for Humanity Hurricane Katrina relief effort in late 2005. It was this time he received national recognition for his community service, interfaith, and social justice efforts. He co-founded the East Jefferson Interfaith Clergy Association and was awarded for outstanding civic achievement by the Mayor and City Council of New Orleans in 2010.
But we do see that Muslims are also the most likely faith community to support Black Lives Matter. That to me was very encouraging.
At number 7 is the fact that Omar Suleiman actually starred in the award-winning Inspiration series, which aimed at imparting moral lessons from this life and example of the Prophet Muhammad through a drama mini-series. The series was widely viewed globally and would go on to win an award for the best movie at the 2016 International Contribution to Dawah Awards in Dubai. At number 6 is the fact that Suleiman was also the subject of a BBC documentary in 2016 highlighting the experience of Muslims in Texas facing rising Islamophobia, and a 2017 PBS documentary showcasing his work with Syrian refugees. So at number 5, in 2017, Omar Suleiman was arrested on Capitol Hill protesting outside of the office of then House Speaker Congressman Paul Ryan. He had been participating in sit-in demonstration calling for comprehensive immigration reform. He later led a group of clergy to the US-Mexico border to protest in solidarity with and meet migrants affected by Trump's family separation policy. Next up on the list is the fact that he also worked to assist families of victims of police brutality, voiced support for the Black Lives Matter movement, and underscored the importance of anti-racism work more broadly.
Allah talks about how entire powerful nations, as nations, were rendered irrelevant because of their arrogance.
In addition to being recognized by CNN as one of the 25 Muslim American changemakers, Suleiman was also included in the Muslim 500, which is an annual ranking of the world's most influential Muslims compiled by the Royal Islamic Strategic Studies Center in Amman, Jordan.
And the Messenger ﷺ said, Allah looks to two people that are quarreling. And Allah says, أَنظِرُوا هَذَيْنِ حَتَّى يَصْطَلِحَا.
At number 2 is the fact that he's actually published several books, including All-American, 45 American Men on Being Muslim, Prayers of the Pious, and Allah Loves. Last but not least, an observation of Frederick Douglass, the Anti-Racist Research and Policy Center at American University and Frederick Douglass Family Initiatives recognized Omar Suleiman among 200 honorees whose work was deemed to best embody the legacy of commitment to social change. So as you guys can see, Omar Suleiman is a great scholar with many different movements that he's either helped spark or actually just helped support. And he's done many different things, including being starred in different series.
Tariq Jamil, who's often referred to as Maulana Tariq Jamil, is one of the most popular Islamic scholars in the entire world. People all around the world know him. Tariq Jamil was born in 1953 in Tulamba, Punjab, Pakistan, and his father belonged to the Muslim Rajput community. He was raised in Mayan Chanu city, another city in Punjab province of Pakistan, and the town itself was named after a Sufi saint named Baba Mian Chanu who lived and was buried there. Tariq Jamil is the speaker of the Hanafi school, which is one of the 4 religious Sunni Islamic schools of study and theory of law. Under the various schools, there are some different viewpoints on certain laws and obligations within Islam, and the Hanafi school has the largest number of Sunni Muslims. The Hanafi school is known for its liberal religious perspective. Now going all the way back to his childhood. So in his childhood, Tariq Jamil lived a relatively modest life, and religion was not really a major part of his life growing up. But it wasn't until he pursued his MBBS in Lahore, Pakistan that his focus really shifted towards Islam. After completing his pre-medical studies at the Government College University in Lahore, Pakistan, he went to King Edward Medical College, also in Lahore, but the pull towards spirituality really urged him to switch to Islamic education. He then went on to receive Islamic education from Jamia Arabia, Rawand, which is near Lahore, where he studied the Quran, Hadith, Sharia, Tasawwuf, logic, and fiqh. So yeah, his life started to transition more towards Islam, and his interest towards Islam really grew during his life in Lahore, and can mainly be attributed to the group members of the Tablighi Jamaat, who he became really good friends with during his time in college. And for those of you who don't know, the Tablighi Jamaat is a non-political global Sunni Islamic missionary movement that really urges Muslims to return to primary Sunni Islam, particularly on matters of ritual as well as dress and personal behavior. Now the organization has tens of millions of followers, and the majority of these followers are living in South Asia. It's been called one of the most influential religious movements in 20th century Islam. Maulana Tariq Jamil, he regularly delivers lectures and speeches encouraging people to follow Islamic values and principles and put them into practice in their everyday life. And one thing to note is that he really emphasizes on Islam without sects, politics, or violence. He's also traveled extensively preaching his sermons, and he's delivered thousands of lectures all around the world. Now, to gain further knowledge, he really mastered the ability to understand and fluently speak Arabic, as well as he traveled extensively to numerous Islamic countries. Now, what makes Maulana Tariq Jamil stand out so much over other Islamic preachers is that he has a real charming appearance, and he combines that with a strong voice, as well as he has an ability to really deliver religious lectures like in a powerful way, like you're just engaged. Within a few years, Maulana Tariq Jamil became one of the most profound and inspiring teachers of Islam in the Urdu language. Due to his sermons as well as his simple and modest lifestyle, Maulana Tariq Jamil, he commands the respect from Muslims all around the world. He has a simple, eloquent, and distinctive style of explaining the purpose of human life and its creation, and often uses scientific examples to support his argument, so it's very relatable to people who aren't even religious. He's delivered lectures to all types of communities in society, from doctors, engineers, professors, businessmen, landlords, government officials, TV and film artists, ministers, politicians, athletes, celebrities, you name it. This guy, he'll talk to anyone, really. His efforts really brought real Islamic values in the lives of some of the greatest Pakistani cricketing legends, such as Saeed Anwar, Inzamam ul Haq, Muhammad Yusuf, Saqlain Mustaq, as well as Salim Malik. In terms of his Islamic teachings, Maulana Tariq Jamil's lectures incorporate a wide range of issues of Islam and social concerns. He especially emphasizes on self-purification, avoidance of violent ways, and the observance of Allah's orders. He repeatedly asks Muslims to do tawbah, which is to repent for past sins, as well as to come back to the right path and steering away from the wrong path, you know? And he really has a passion for speaking with young people as well, because we know that, you know, when you're young, sometimes you just do stupid things, and you sometimes put aside your values that you know are going to benefit you in the future and even in the present time. And the final thing I want to share is Maulana Tariq Jamil's audio lectures are circulated on the internet, and among his other activities, Maulana Tariq Jamil also runs a madrasa, which is a school in Faisalabad, Pakistan. He was listed as a popular speaker in 2013 and 2014's edition of the book The Muslims 500, the world's 500 most influential Muslims. Alright guys, so that's all I have to say in this episode. Hopefully this gives you a better insight into the man who has such a huge following and is impacting millions of people around the world.